Good evening, folks. Welcome to the KSR YouTube channel. Jack Pilgrim here with Zack Geoghegan and Jacob Polacheck, KSR Plus extraordinaire. And I guess, Zach, if you want to be KSR regular extraordinaire, we're all extraordinaire. But it's halftime of the what?
We got Jack on the KSR Plus team now, so you're outnumbered here.
Yeah, he has transitioned to the other side.
I have I have 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door. I can be bought. It's halftime of the national championship game, so we decided to hop on here and break down the big news of the day. None bigger than the biggest domino, physically and metaphorically. 7-footer Malachi Moreno returning to Kentucky for his sophomore season. With a little asterisk in there to keep in mind as he decides to test the draft waters. But big news today, he signs his return deal, one that we have lots of details on, so much behind the scenes and stuff on KSR Plus. Go check that out, but we'll talk a little bit about it right here. But Zach, your first impression, your first reaction to Malachi's big news, him returning and saying, I will be testing the draft waters, but if I'm coming back to college, there's one place I'm going, and it's the University of Kentucky.
Yeah, I think of all the guys on the roster that had eligibility to come back, Malachi was probably the guy that you expected the most to return, and it's not really a shock to see him test the draft waters as well, as his stock didn't necessarily explode, but steadily kind of grew throughout the course of the season to the point where, you know, it makes sense for him to go and test the waters and get a bunch of feedback, see what he needs to improve upon, see what the front office execs and the scouts are all looking for from a guy like him. So makes sense. It's a smart move for him to go do that, and it's a great building block for next season. He's kind of, I mean, that's the guy you build around now at this point. You know, it's Malachi. Like, he's your 7-footer. Maybe you start making him more of a focus of the offense moving forward, and kind of piece your roster around what fits him best. Maybe not entirely, but, you know, at least a little bit of it. You know, put some shooters and a good point guard around him. So great first piece for Kentucky right before the portal opens. And, you know, assuming, unless he just goes out and blows it away in the NBA draft and they give him a lottery lock, which in this draft seems very, very unlikely. But yes, great news to have Malachi coming back, because he's a very good player and he's young.
So, Jacob, we're following the transfer portal chaos that opens at midnight. We're going to be working. We have been working the phones all day, every day, just for eternity, it feels like. But it's just like, the chaos is just about to start. It's just like the preview. That was the appetizer for the actual entree that's set to begin here at midnight. But you and I both know more than anybody that the big market right now is absolutely insane. The numbers for some of these bigs that are rumored right now, just stupid. Just the dumbest numbers you could possibly think of. So to think that a skilled big and SEC all-freshman team big like Malachi Moreno, who probably not obviously going to flirt with the lottery range, but we have heard all year long that there are teams at the end of that first round that you know, would love to take him at 27, 28, something like that. So this is a guy that would have fetched a ridiculous number on the open market. And my understanding of the negotiations and back and forth is that Malachi wanted to take, was comfortable taking a below market deal, not just, you know, for the goodness of the sport, but because he understood that if they carve out a massive chunk of the cap space, for me personally, how are they going to build a championship roster around me? That was a really important thing for Malachi, that he was willing to kind of give a little to hopefully take a little with Pope and some of these other guys that they're going after, the star talents that they're going after. So what did you learn about the behind the scenes of Malachi's return to Kentucky, the draft process, but maybe more so what it means for what's next, for what's about to pop here in 2 hours?
Yeah, I mean, building block is the perfect word for it. It's also a PR win, and a much needed PR win ahead of the transfer portal, where reputation really means everything. You are pitching these players on, this is the reputation of our program and this is what we can be. And if you let a guy like Malachi walk, it's not a great reputation point when you're pitching to these recruits and to these transfers. So it's a really impactful thing for the portal, because you now go to every portal guy that you're targeting and say, hey, we got our 5-man. We have our 5-man. And he's an NBA draft prospect, and he's going to be really good. So all we need you to do is do your role and he's going to make your life easier. So that was just a huge point to get that done when they did. And it's a massive PR win and just an overall roster building win that you can compound in the portal.
Zach, before we transition out of Malachi, where do you see his game taking, assuming he does come back the way we kind of expect him to? Where do you see his game taking the biggest leap in year two? How can he become the lottery pick that he very clearly wants to be? Like, I think he's going into the draft process right now to learn the things that he needs to build upon, the things that he did well, but, kind of focus on the weaknesses and things that kind of held him back from becoming the lottery guy this cycle, and using that for this time next year.
Yeah, I think when you ask that question, the first thing that'll come to fans' mind is something along the lines of get a little bit stronger, get a little bit, better hands around the rim. Like, we want to see you dunk the ball when you're 2 feet away from the basket, just be a little bit more aggressive, assertive, physical, strong, all of those things under one umbrella. That's probably the main number one thing for him. So a big offseason in the weight room and, getting beat up with the pads in practice and stuff like that, and kind of just taking a beating in the offseason will be really good for him, and I think his overall game. But then if you're, I don't know how realistic it is to kind of expect him to come out and start shooting a bunch of threes and stuff like that. So I think even to the aggressive part of like trying to get to the rim, like, let's be a little bit more aggressive with your passes too. Like, if Pope is really going to try and make you the hub and maybe a little bit more zoom action type guy where you can sit at the top of the key and really run the show, like, you're going to have to get a little bit more tactical with your approach to that. I don't know exactly what that would look like for him. So, but it would just be more Amari Williams-esque, like be a little bit more mobile up top where you can back your guy down and throw some more backdoor cuts and things like that. Just be a little bit more aggressive with your passes. Like, sometimes it was frustrating with Amari because he'd get a little bit too much with that at times, but I think that's what made him so special, because he could pull off things that other guys can't. So if Malachi can get a little bit more of that juice to his game, I think that would be great for him going forward. I mean, and if he wants to start shooting some threes, his free throw percentage was actually pretty good, like SEC playing on. So, it's weird and kind of odd as the form is, like, because he takes it all the way behind his head. Like, if it's going in and if he's confident shooting some threes, let's see the big man step out a little bit more. But I think the passing and the being aggressive around the rim are the two main things that he'll be. I think that's what the NBA teams will tell him too.
Yeah, by the end of the year, I was expecting him to make free throws. I was like
high 70s, low 80s, something like that.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. Guy who we weren't expecting to hit shots at the end of the year, who ended up somehow making shots. Mo Dioubate decides to enter the transfer portal today. Jacob, news that I don't think anybody's really stunned. I think knowing what what we all heard and knew and learned about how he got to Kentucky in the first place. He was very outspoken at Alabama, saying, like, I'm going to get what I'm worth. This time last year when he decided to enter the portal as a great role rotation guy for Alabama, but was looking to expand his role and also cash out and get a nice little payday. He got that at Kentucky. I think one of the top orders of business this cycle was to clear the deck and say, we got to reevaluate value here. We can't just keep burning cash. Like, it's good to be a top spender and to be able to bring in elite talent with that money, but we can't be spending as much as we did on good role players. So I think my understanding of the deal as the offseason opened was, we'd love to have a lot of these guys back, but for a quarter of what their actual real valuation is, not for what we paid for them. And what kid is going to be willing to take a quarter of what he made a year ago? So I think they went into a lot of these conversations expecting some like, hey, thanks for everything, but we'll see you later. Jayla Lowe is one of those players. BG was one of those players, and now Mo Dioubate was definitely one of those as well. Your reaction to Mo Diabate's decision to enter the transfer portal?
Yeah, it wasn't a huge surprise. That it wasn't a name that I was like, he's for sure gone or he's for sure back. It was, what's his asking price going to be, and is it going to be a role that Kentucky is comfortable with him playing? And is it a role that he's comfortable with playing? And I felt like for what Kentucky paid to get him last season, it wouldn't have been worth it to bring him back on that kind of money, because that if you do that, he is your full-time starter playing big minutes. And I just think that you need to upgrade at that position as far as a full-time starter. So it wasn't something that surprised me. It wasn't something I was like, Mo needs to leave this program. I think that he would have been a good piece in this program, but I think that it's mutually beneficial for both parties. I think that he'll have more opportunities elsewhere, and Kentucky will have more opportunities to fill that role.
In terms of the other decisions, Zach, I think Colin, the best vibes out of everybody else about returning. I think things are looking very good in that regard. Still no official public announcement for Colin, but I think that's one Kentucky definitely feels good about. But I think there's a group of Cam Williams, Andrea Yelovich, Braden Hawthorne, I think are the next set of wild cards that I think it depends on how some other dominoes fall, how the portal opens, how things progress with their other targets, how things go with Tyron Stokes, some of these other guys that they're pursuing that could lead all of them to come back, none of them to come back, one or two of them to come back. So what are you kind of keeping your eye on here of those three outside of Colin, of that next group? Are you leaning any way? You got to talk to Trent Noah today. He's in probably that next tier of guys that he lead anything on to tip his shows in a little bit?
So what Jack's talking about is it was Trent Noah, Jasper Johnson, and Reese Potter did a Ronald McDonald's charity house. Ronald McDonald's house is what it's called. It's like a charity organization on campus earlier tonight. It was about 6:00. So kind of odd timing, obviously, with the news of Jasper. But yes, we were given strict orders to not ask about anything basketball or portal related. So no, I did not. And trust me, that was why I was there. So no, was not able to get any sort of info one way or the other there. But back to your question, yeah. So it's definitely like a holding pattern. It feels like with some of these guys, and at what point do you not hold on anymore if you're someone like Cam Williams, where you've maybe got an offer on the table, but there's some conditions in terms of if another guy comes in, if they land Tyron Stokes, maybe the role that you're expecting is going to diminish. How long does a guy like that wait to maybe figure out if he wants to go in the portal or not? Of that group right there, of Cam, AJ, and who was the other guy? Braden Hawthorne. I probably would prefer to have Cam Williams back of those three. Actually pretty easily, honestly, if you're asking me. By all accounts, it sounds like Cam wants to be here too, but it's just a matter of what's the offer, what's the role. Does he want to play more than 20? Does he want to play 25 minutes a game and kind of be a starter? Is that feasible for next season if you're really trying to make a run to the championship? Or are they kind of offering him a lesser role with a little bit lesser money too? So like you said, if anyone in here was like, hey, we're taking away 25% of your pay, but come back and and actually be better next season, it'd be like, okay, well so that's just think of it that way. It's understandable that some of these kids would not want to come back for the same role to do, for a lot less money. So, but with Cam, I think he's worth having. He's worth sticking around. He's worth trying to invest in with his two-way abilities and all that. So, but yeah, it's a weird time for him because his role is probably not defined for next season as of today.
What are you giggling out over there?
Someone commented that JP slightly cracking a constant smile reading the comments. I am cracking a smile reading some of these comments.
Ridiculous. I think if Tyron, say he commits to the Nike Hoop Summit, again, I don't think that's confirmed right now, but just that's a theory out there for fans of many. If he does commit to Kansas, then it frees up quite a bit of money at Cam Williams' spot, at Braden Hawthorne's spot. And yesterday's price would no longer be today's price if you're talking about both of those two players. And I think, Pope would be much more comfortable. I think the offers that they extended were like, hey, we could take you at this price right now and still afford Tyron. But if Tyron opts to go to Kansas or whatever, then maybe we double it or increase it to whatever they're after the fact, and that leads to Cam Williams to return or Braden or both. So I think that we have in a holding pattern, and Jacob is you heard working the phones today. I think a lot of schools are in massive holding patterns, and coaching staffs are trying to be as tight-lipped as possible right now until the floodgates officially open here in an hour and 51 minutes at this
2
point.
hours,
So,
yeah.
Yeah, I think we are in very much a TBD stage, and I think once the clock strikes midnight, I think all hell is about to break loose, Jacob. And you just saw a new name pop up that you reported on KS board.
Tell us, Jacob.
Yeah, KJ Evans,
There
Oregon forward. Jack and I both heard his name mentioned, so I just said, you know what, I'll text KJ, see if it's true. And he said, yeah, they've been in contact with his representation. Obviously, they can't be in contact with him directly until midnight, so less than 2 hours away, which is crazy. And so they haven't set up any visits or Zooms yet. It's still super early, but Kentucky is interested in KJ Evans. He was a guy that Kentucky was interested in when he was in high school, but I think that was staff under Cal. So they are now getting involved, and it's funny right now. We're in like a holding pattern. Like Jack said, I was calling team site guys at other sites today being like, what are you hearing? It's like everyone is quiet. Everyone is very quiet before this. And it feels like everyone's kind of walking on eggshells here. They don't want to say anything to get them in trouble before the portal opens. And then in a couple hours, that's all going to change. So, yeah.
Wouldn't want to get in trouble with the NCAA, right?
All right. Well, it's a calm before the storm. Everybody get a nice little breathe. Do we need a nap? Do we need a coffee? Like, what's the are we doing coffee? Is that the vibe going into it? All right. Everybody regroup. Midnight's going to come fast, and tomorrow it's going to be all hands on deck. So hold on to your butts. KSR will be there from start to finish. We'll
subscribe to KSR Plus, please.
Or Jacob will be fired. I'm telling you, Jacob will be fired tomorrow if he does not. If you don't. So for Jack, for Zach, for Jacob, we'll probably do 78 more of these rapid reactions over the course of the offseason. So tune in, buckle up. It's go time. We're so excited here at KSR headquarters, and we'll see you then. Go Cats.